I've been continuing to make my own syrups for my matchas all through summer because it's just a fun little easy way to make my life that much more romantic. The favorite of the summer has been my banana bread syrup, so that's what I'm making today. Making myself a little afternoon matcha, my second matcha of the day, so I can sit down and hang out with you guys. Matcha with Maddie, monthly catch up. It's September, so we're getting a little spook, busting out this skull glass that I believe I acquired in a Michael's in the year 2016. So I'm filming this on a Monday. My sister just left. She was here visiting me for the weekend, which was so energizing and fun. I feel like I laugh harder with my sister than I do with literally anyone else on the face of the planet. And I've also recently started trying out bricking my phone. My therapist told me about this. I'll explain what that is in a second, but I've spent all day today just bricking my phone and simmering down. I was actually just listening to an episode of Revelatorium by the one and only Catherine Out, where she was polling everyone on what resonated the most right now between seek, swelter, or simmer, which first of all, loving that. But as I was listening to this episode, I was like, oh, I know my answer already, and my answer is simmer. Also kind of loving the seek, swelter, or simmer question because those things can kind of mean whatever you want them to mean. Love that it wasn't explained further. As I was listening, I was like, you know what? I am simmering. Okay, we are simmering. We are turning our phones into flip phones, taking more dedicated alone time, and we are chilling the fuck out because it was a long social summer, which was beautiful and gorgeous. But I also feel like naturally in the summers, my alone time gets a little bit squished from all the socializing, and that alone time kind of ends up evolving into work time. So my true alone time kind of falls to the wayside because work time does not actually count as alone time just because you are self-employed. To all my other self-employed people that are watching this, much love to all of my friends. I am also excited to socialize a little bit less, spend a little bit more time alone, a little bit more time indoors, go on a few more solo dates, bring back the romance that burnt off during July and August, including but not limited to indulging in some adult films over on Cheeks, which by the way, I just say, well, I love Cheeks, but they do this campaign twice a year called the Vote for Your Corn campaign, which basically puts the production choice power in the hands of the audience and allows everyone to vote on the kinds of adult content they want to see over on Cheeks to help produce films that are more inclusive, diverse, and reflective of actual, real sexual desires. Anyways, the most recent conclusion of this campaign is a film called Our Home Movie, which could be a major addition to an upcoming solo night, making note of that. Cheeks is a sexual wellness subscription platform that combines intimate films that are ethically produced with expert-led education through their Pleasure Academy with immersive audio stories that you can lay back and listen to as well. Sexual exploration content is abundant over on Cheeks. And I've been known to indulge in an adult film or two. I'm a patron of the arts. Come on now. And Cheeks has the best library to choose from. I'm personally all about corn that understands the value of sensuality and a true slow build-up. So much of adult content like this is catered to the male gaze, so Cheeks is truly a breath of fresh air. So if you're curious to try Cheeks for yourself, you can use my code Maddie7 for 7 days of free unlimited access when you select their yearly plan, which you can cancel at any point in time during the 7-day trial if you decide it's not for you. I'll link it all down in the description for you. Major solo date night ideas, okay? I'm cooking with gas now, all right? That's what I'm gonna be up to this fall. Anyways, back to bricking. Let me explain what that was, which I only just heard about this last week when my therapist told me about it, and literally within 2 days, within 48 hours, I had acquired a brick of my own. I was talking to my therapist about how challenging it is to set boundaries with my phone sometimes. I'll go through periods where I'm really good at just like setting a mental boundary, not picking up my phone, not scrolling, being good at just setting it down and walking away, leaving it in the other room, going about my life. But I also go through periods where I'm not so good at the willpower it takes to just make that decision and stick to it. And right now, I'm in a phase where I haven't been so good at it. And she told me about something called a brick, which is basically a brick Okay. I have mine stuck to my fridge, but basically when I scan my phone against this brick, it turns my phone into a nothing burger. It makes all of the apps on my phone useless except the ones that I have deemed appropriate for me to use. So I've basically deemed everything off limits when my phone is bricked except for calls and texts. So people can still contact me, but it's basically like I have a flip phone. No Instagram, no TikTok, no Letterboxd, no Index, no various other application that may be on my phone that I may be distracted by, including but not limited to those sorting games that I'm obsessed with. I need to stop. Like, it actually is getting irritating to me how much I love those stupid sorting iPhone games. So I've spent all day today with my phone bricked, and it's awesome. There's something about the physical nature of having to actually get up to brick and unbrick my phone. It makes scrolling and choosing to indulge in social media a more conscious decision versus something that I'm just like doing subconsciously because my phone is in my hand. I almost feel like I want to become more rigid in some ways and less rigid in others. Maybe rigid isn't the right word for what I'm trying to say, but that is the word I'm choosing. So more rigid when it comes to screen time, boundaries on my phone, being engulfed in the endless scroll, feeling like my hours of the day are being stolen from me by my phone. There's never enough time in the day, but what if there could be? What if there could be enough time in the day if I just had a better relationship with my phone? That's the question I'm daring to ask myself. More rigidity when it comes to fighting back against the urge to be ultra connected and also perpetually understood. Inversely, I'm trying to become less rigid when it comes to change, accepting how truly often that I change and what a celebratory thing that is. I feel like sometimes change almost feels guilt-ridden to me. I think particularly in this era of ultra connection and being perpetually understood, knowing everything about everyone, being so plugged into each other. Sometimes change can start to feel like having to re-explain yourself, having people be confused about you, not being able to keep track of your changing perspectives or things about you that were once true that aren't true anymore. I also feel like this is somehow connected to like that era in time where there was an increase in language around like self-branding, your personal brand. And it's like, bitch, I'm 28. I don't think that what I would self-assess as being my personal brand at age 28 is even going to be close to the same when I'm fucking 45. Or let's not even be that dramatic, 29. Like, I don't need a personal brand, okay? I don't know that I care to be pinned down in such boxed in, committed, rigid kind of ways. I don't know that I want to be so predictable. Sometimes I actually do feel bad about it. I'm like, oh, sorry. I know I told you this one thing about me. Like, not to like take up too much of your time. I know that I previously said this one thing about myself, but actually now I don't see it that way. Now I see it a totally new way. Sorry, not to confuse everyone by being an ever-changing, evolving, deeply complex, beautiful goddamn weapon of a woman. Not to confuse any of you, but that's the truth of living. We do change. We all change constantly. I change all the time. And I want to get better at embracing how truly wonderful that is. I was talking to my sister about my no contact crush this weekend and some reflections I've had more recently about that, which, by the way, I wouldn't call him no contact anymore, nor would I call him my crush anymore, to be clear. But I was talking to my sister about reflecting on some of the choices I made throughout the time I had that crush, specifically all the waiting that I did, which I don't regret, to be clear, but I'm not sure that it is a choice that I would make a second time. I don't regret it in the sense that when I was in the moment and I was dedicating so much of my heart and intimacy to someone I wasn't really sure things were going to work out with, I had the best time ever. I was happy. I was giggly. I was never sad. Despite all the uncertainty, he never made me cry. If I had spent my time in that middle space, the will they, won't they of it all, if I had spent that time being miserable and upset and crying to my friends, that would have been one thing. But instead, I spent that time deep in the joy of knowing and being known by someone like him and just enjoying my feelings, enjoying the experience of having a crush. May it have been fleeting. I'm also an optimist at the end of the day. I'm a romantic. Come on. I believed. That was enough at the time. It's for those reasons that I don't regret it. On top of the fact that I just don't really believe in regretting choosing to love someone. I think in choosing to love and choosing to be open-hearted, that's an action that I think can only yield net positive results in the long term. That's not saying that everything works out. I just think it's an attitude that probably lends more kindly to living a happy, aligned, romantic life. That's all. But at the same time, I wouldn't make those choices again. Because although I feel like my patience and my prolonged, easygoing joy about that relationship felt aligned in the moment, in hindsight, it was almost like delaying the pain for a rainy day just because it felt better to lean into hedonism in the moment, which is not a bad thing. Again, this is why I don't regret it. I had fun, but I'm not sure that I would have let it go on for as long as it did if I found myself in this situation a second time. Just because it feels good doesn't mean it is good. And you can have all the love in the world for someone and still not be right for each other at the end of the day. And I don't even mean that on just the commitment scale. You can both want the same exact thing. You can both want a long-term relationship, but maybe you long for different kinds of intimacy within that long-term relationship. You align on so many things, but you misalign on this big, major thing. Perhaps the most important thing. But again, I don't regret it. And if I had to live that same exact situation all over again, I actually wouldn't change any of what I did. I wouldn't go back and do it differently. But next time that I find myself somewhere similar with someone new, I can't say that I will make the same choices then. I'm different now. I changed. And there was no amount of hindsight that could have helped me, even if I had it in advance, because being in observation of the moment is quite different than being in the moment, actually living it. It's a lot of talk. You can say all the things that you coulda, shoulda, woulda done, but when you're in that moment, you're gonna go with your gut 100% of the time. I made informed choices. I took a risk. I knew what I was doing. I also knew that it probably wasn't gonna go the way I hoped that it would. I knew that, but I believe in love. So I had to take the long way. I was taking back roads. I was taking the scenic route. Okay, we got there eventually, but I had to go the long way. I needed to, for me. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with knowing that some of my heart changes might take me a little bit longer because I'm someone who wants to feel everything deeply. I am someone who definitely moves heart first instead of head first a lot of the time. I want to feel everything deeply, to stretch my arms and just touch every kind of different feeling that I can in this lifetime, even if it's painful. I just want to know it. I want to see it. I want to feel all of it. I want to take the back roads, the scenic route, the long way home, okay? That's what I'm doing. Sometimes I feel scared of having to relearn the same lessons because I feel some type of guilt associated with change. Like I say that I don't think I would make the same choices again, but what if I meet someone else and I do? What if I stay too long? I stay when the party's fucking over. What if I'm too patient? What if I'm too understanding? What if I, in my pursuit of being truthful to myself and living in alignment with my own heart and how I feel in the heat of these moments, what if in pursuit of that, I accidentally end up doing the opposite and betraying my heart by being a down-ass bitch for people that maybe I shouldn't be? Again, that's not really how I would characterize my no-contact crush, though, because I wouldn't change anything about that, and I do think he was deserving of that at the time, even if maybe it shouldn't have gone on for as long as it did. But also, who cares? Because I had fun. I had a good time. I don't know why I feel guilty about that sometimes. I'm like, fuck. Maybe I felt judged. Maybe I felt like people have judged me in the aftermath of that, because I know that some people are always going to think that I look dumb for choosing to love. I know that some people are always going to think that I'm the one that ends up with pie on my face because I am choosing to take the long way home constantly. Even if I think it's right, even if I'm happy that I did it, even if I wouldn't do it differently. Maybe it's not an experience I have to have a second time, but in that moment, when I was living it, those were all the right choices for me. 100% they were. But I think that the line between saying, well, that's just who I am. That's just how I love. That's how my heart is. That's how I operate. This is how I am. This is me. The line between me honoring my heart and living in that truth and me switching entirely and saying, you don't get access to my heart because you have not earned that right. And I'm sorry if that is not understanding enough for you. The line between those two things sometimes feels razor thin. And I understand that it is completely situational. And I am confident in my ability to show up for myself in the moment and make the right choices and the right assessments for me, whether I want to go the heart route or I want to go the head route. Because sometimes I have had to go the head route. Sometimes I have had to go head over heart. I love you. I love what we have. And also I will be walking away. I don't want to. Every part of my heart wants to stay fucking right here, but I'm not going to. I've done that too. I did in this very same story, actually. How do you think the no contact crush became the no contact crush? Okay, clearly it happened. Clearly I eventually opted for head instead of heart. And actually, I just bought myself a piece of art that I showed on this channel probably like 2 years ago. I found this piece of art by Lord Cowboy that I loved. I fell in love with. I just recently bought it. I'm waiting on the frame to hang it up, but it's literally right in front of me right now. I'll read it to you because I think it applies here. This is like the kind of this is what I'm talking about. I don't need to soothe myself into detachment. I don't need to protect myself from hurt. Anything that can disrupt my peace will. I don't even need to pretend it won't hurt so bad. I'm human. It'll hurt. It's just a matter of what I choose to do with the hurt. I don't need to sterilize devastation from my library of emotions. Devastate me, baby. I trust I'll know what to do. That is how I feel. Devastate me, baby, talking to other people, and sometimes devastate me, baby, talking to myself. Because sometimes I have to be the one to devastate me. And sometimes I get scared that I will make the wrong choice. Or that I will learn something and then not remember what I learned in a moment where I really need to. And then comes the idea of people changing, of me changing. Equally with the overwhelm of change is the overwhelm of staying the same, of being misunderstood in my prerogative of making the same mistakes multiple times over just because I fucking want to. Because I still believe in love, goddammit. I think my conclusion here is that I want to become less rigid in the expectations of how much I should know by now, or how many times I have to do or say something in order for it to fully stick, or even how the advice I give myself can change so dramatically from one situation to the next. In one situation, we're going fully into my heart. The next situation, we're going fully into my head. Then it flip-flops and it changes again, and I trust that I have everything I need to make the right calls for me in every single one of those situations. And actually, I am astrologically built to be good at that. I am all water and air. I really have no earth or fire in my whole goddamn chart. I just had a birth chart reading last week, so this is fresh on my mind right now. I am the human embodiment of head and heart. I can merge them. I do it all the time, but I want permission to be a little messy with it, to make the wrong choice, while also knowing that I'm really the only person who gets the final say on that. So no matter how many people hear me say something intimate and vulnerable, share some type of reflection or anecdote from my life, whether it is online, in which case you're getting a reflection or anecdote that is really void of all the details you would need to make a total assessment. So nobody can make an assessment of my situation online, but even looking at like friends of mine who know all the intimate details of my situation, but then maybe still would move differently, would choose differently than I choose. And that's fine, because they're not me. And I don't need to guilt myself over changing my mind, over being different, over making the same choice twice, over having to learn the same lesson multiple times over, learning a lesson and then later deciding, actually, fuck that lesson. That shit was useless and pointless. And I disagree with it now. And actually, Fuck it all. I do the same thing a second time. It's just another form of judgment. Sometimes I feel this, and I do think this is the eldest daughter of it all, actually, now that I'm saying it out loud. But I feel this pressure to get everything right the first time, to do it right the first time, to learn the lesson and not have to go back and do it again, to set an example, to have my shit together, to just be so fucking clocked in and polished in some way. And that's not a burden I want to carry anymore. Someone in observation of me and the little glimpses of my life that they see is not the same as me living it myself. I trust that I know what to do. But sometimes I feel bad about being hard to pin down, or I worry what someone might think of me if I am hard to pin down, if I do change my mind, if I have to repeat things, if I have to go through everything a second time, if other people notice that I'm taking the long way home and they think I should just pull off to the side of the road and get the fuck out of my car entirely. Sometimes I find myself feeling guilty if I'm not easy to pin down, if I change, if I'm not easily understood, if I'm a beautifully complicated woman. Sometimes I feel like I'm too difficult or that my very presence contradicts itself. But fuck it, I like that about myself. I want to be all of these things. I don't want to cut off, to amputate any part of myself to make myself more digestible to other people. So I can be a beautiful, perfectly polished, wise beyond her years daughter for everyone. Listen, I know that I would be more digestible if I had less opinions. If I was less opinionated, if I were to change my mind, you really would never know because I never made my initial perspective known. But also, I think being naked in my experience of change is also kind of profound. It is uniquely vulnerable in a way that just feels almost like a requirement for living a full life. Like I love sharing my life with people. I love sharing my thoughts. And I think this should also mean that I love sharing when I am different, when I have changed. I want to be more rigid with phone boundaries, less rigid when it comes to being a perfectly manicured reflection machine that learns things once and never again. Because that's not interesting. Because that's not interesting, and that's also not who I am. So fuck it. Do you ever feel that way? Me after I talk for 30 minutes. Can anyone relate? I just feel like the older that I get, the more of this like pressure I feel to move towards some finalized, more perfectly manicured, never repeat the same mistakes twice, like remember everything that I've learned in every situation ever, never show up with pie on my face, like always be so beautiful and perfect and well reflected and locked in that nobody can ever have anything to say about you. Is this all just my subconscious trying to fight against judgment and a fear of being misunderstood? I think perhaps me accepting being misunderstood is going to be the challenge of my lifetime. Just letting everyone misunderstand me and being like, you know what? And that's fine. And that's okay. And you didn't get it. And you don't get me. And you are wrong about me. And just being okay with that. And having a giggle, looking up at the sky and fucking smiling. Because someone, somewhere, believes that I should actually be doing XYZ instead of what I am doing. And they know better than I do. I would like to get good at being misunderstood. Maybe not good, but better. More rigid with phone boundaries. Less rigid in running away from being misunderstood. This pressure to be ultra connected and perpetually understood. I hate it here. Anyways, it's all connected, isn't it? Oh my God, have I taken a sip of my matcha this whole time? Honestly, I was talking so much I kind of forgot what I was here for. Here to have my matcha and yap at the same time. We just yapped. It is damn good though. Anyways, thanks for letting me ramble on some thoughts and reflections I've had on life over the last 3 days. If you liked this and you want to see more content like this, you should definitely listen to my podcast, Emotionally Online. Comes out every Thursday. We do this every week, and it's kind of the best time ever. We'd love to see you over there. And you can also follow me over on Instagram at Maddie Dragsbaek, where I get to share little snapshots of my beautiful life. I love you. Thank you so much for being here and for listening to me, even if you don't totally understand me. I appreciate the way that you guys receive me without judging me. And I just love this little corner of the internet. I'll see you guys very soon. Mwah.